Welcome to the 2025 Draft and League Analysis. This is Nerds, the commissioner. We're going to try to go on and just recap, the offseason, the draft, the league so far. Sorry it's a little late. I have life, but hope you guys are enjoying the facial hair too, because I'm not shaving until I get my first Super League win. So, could get real disgusting. Um, I want to start off with just saying, with the draft, we did it so early and we had like literally zero trades. Like I don't was there was one trade between Grippy and Reed. Okay. We had one trade and we drafted like 40 days ago. So that was a bit disappointing. I hope the megas pick up. Secondly, I still think it should be 16 playoff only because the teams that start out really bad, like 0 and 3, are just going to make their rich richer. And they're just going to destroy their team for win now. And it just makes it so the top teams are so strong. So I think next year we should consider going to 16 playoff only because people get so mad over the trades, but it's because the teams that are so bad at first just have to start training away their best players for downgrades, pretty much. Third, I want to bring up the auction draft because it is really sad what's going on in the chat right now because you would think with the people in here, some of the people would appreciate the strategy of the auction draft. Yeah, I get like draft pick trades and draft is fun, but everyone would love their team if we got to do auction draft. Just sounds way better to me. You get to pick your own players. Like imagine a fantasy league where every player you are picking, like you have the choice of getting everyone. You're not stuck between all like there should be no reason why I couldn't have Josh Allen on my fantasy team if I really wanted him this year. So I think the bidding would be really fun. And just to open the draft pool up for every player without some of these draft pick trades that are kind of bad, it would be funny to have the auction draft, especially for this league. And I think the most serious leagues will have auction draft. So I hope you guys will consider that next year. Okay, let's start with the draft. And this was a good draft. It was very interesting from last year because the quarterbacks did not fly off the board. So that was very surprising. There were still, players looking at the board right now. Looks like Tua went in the eighth round. I think he went in like the third or fourth last year. Stafford went in like the fifth round last year. I mean, Stroud went in the sixth round this year, and he went with the fourth overall pick this year. Love went in the second round last year. Fields probably, and he went late, but Dak went in like the second round. And Mahomes went super high. So yeah, like a lot of these QBs just fell. So with the tight end premium, it really made it so that like every player was like equal. Obviously the quarterbacks are more important, but it made the draft very interesting. So I'm glad we added the tight end premium. And it was an early draft, but you can see like, where the draft board would have changed if we did the draft today. But it was honestly a pretty fair draft. There was a couple trades. But there weren't any like crazy picks or like no one really got scummed either, which was good. We kind of dodged any like huge injuries that I can think of. So everyone's like, top 8 picks are all like in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna do the best and worst picks for the first 5 rounds and then just throw out some other good and bad picks from the later rounds first. So the best pick in the first round is tough, obviously, because everyone's good, but I think Liam picking Gibbs was the best pick of the first round because I think he's going to be the RB1. And I probably would have drafted him over Saquon, CD, Bijan. Yeah, I would have drafted him over those three. But I just think like getting Gibbs as the last running back out of those three was the best if I had to pick one. And the worst pick, even though it's crazy, it was Jamar Chase from Max. He could have gotten Jamar Chase with the sixth pick, and he picked him at 3. He could have tried to trade it down to get Chase. I mean, obviously he's going to be a beast, but I think Jaden Daniels and Hurts would have been better, and maybe Burrow. So just like kind of getting 2 picks off value. All right, the best pick of the second round was Reed picking McCaffrey. I think today, like in the PPR league, he would go higher than like in all the leagues now. He's ranked like sixth or seventh. I think Reed got him as like the I don't know 11th or 12th position player. I mean, Puka Neighbors and St. Brown went over him. I think McCaffrey would go over all those guys now, and maybe CD or Justin Jefferson. So obviously, if he stays healthy, like that is the best pick of the entire draft. And the worst pick was Kittle from Jake. His team ended up being pretty good, but I thought picking him over Brian Thomas and Nico Collins and A-Chain and even Derrick Henry with the tight end premium just wasn't worth it. I think he had his best year last year. So that was just a bit too early for me. You know, I think Jake could have gotten a better tight end later for better value and just pick Brian Thomas or Collins, and his team would have looked even more stacked, in my opinion. But I think Jake did have the best pick in round three when he picked Patrick Mahomes, which was crazy that he fell. I I actually think Mahomes is going to have a really good season. And looking back, he should have gotten higher in the draft. I know people are kind of scared of him because they played really conservative the last couple of years, but they have really good receivers this year, and maybe their team will be a little worse. So I think he's going to have bounce back. And one of my futures is actually Patrick Mahomes over passing yards for this season. So that was crazy to get him at 3.3 with what is that, like the 29th pick, 27th pick? And the worst pick was Bo Nix, who's taken right before Mahomes. That was just too early. But I do think the Broncos are going to have a really good season. So I just don't like any of their guys for fantasy, but I think they're very solid and they will definitely make the playoffs. Fourth round, I thought everyone's picks were good, to be honest. The only pick I didn't really like was Jake and Brees Hall, but he's kind of fallen since then. But I really just don't think the Jets are going to have a good year. And then here's just some other good picks. Those were Jeffrey picking Dak in the fifth round. That was way too late. I think looking back now, Dak would go way higher. Just he has like the second highest odds for passing yards this season out of any QBs, or second odds to lead the league in passing. That and he went as like I don't know QB 12, QB 13. That is just too late. I think the Cowboys are just going to be like the Bengals from last year, except worse. I do really think they're going to be really good for fantasy. So looking back, Dak going that late was way too late. All right, I'm just gonna rattle off some of the worst picks here. Liam taking Godwin was the worst pick of the draft, obviously. Um, Obviously, if the draft was later, he would have fallen, but like that was just like a research problem. Like, I don't know why he even picked Godwin. He was already cooked at that point. And then Ibuka going right after is just hilarious from Jake, which was probably one of the top two picks of the draft. Now, obviously, his stock is soared up, but you can't really control with McMillan and Alton getting hurt too, which was kind of unfair. But even before those guys were hurt, it was still a really good pick. And I think people taking Pearsall, Myers, Golden, Jaden Reed, Diggs, Samuel, we're all gonna regret it. All right, some other bad picks. Caleb Johnson from Trump was way too early. Bowman drafting Nick Chubb was terrible. He already dropped him, but he could have had Jalen Warren or Tyron Tracy or Dobbins there. And then obviously B Rob and Garenda bad picks now. And then Reed picking Mixon, I think he lost out in the mystery box. And I don't think it will matter for his team anyways, because by the time Mixon comes back, Reed might already be cooked. Casey picking Najee was also good at the end. Even with his injury, he really shouldn't have gone behind like Jaden Blue, Ramondre, Garendo, Rashawn White, Javante Williams. Like obviously there's a question mark, but seems like he's going to be in a committee. And then this little pocket here, Diggs, Samuel, Egbuka, and Downs in like the ninth and 10th round. That was like the last of the good receivers. So that was good for all of us to rush in there. Reed was forced to pick Shakir. It goes like Shakir, Cup, Higgins, Coleman. Like All those guys are just way better. All right. So that was my draft analysis. Nothing really else to note there, but um, it was pretty fair. Nothing egregious. Okay. Now I'm going to rank all the teams once I get the sleeper to load. Okay. We're going to go from 12 to 1. And I really don't think there's any really bad teams. Like, I think everyone's in it. There's some teams that are worse. I feel like there's like one or two, maybe even three teams that stand out. And the rest of us are very even. Like, so it will be interesting to see. Like, I think it is very spread out. And it'll be very interesting to see like whose teams are good and whose are bad. Um, I feel like last year there was like three teams that we knew were really bad off the bat, which was like Milk, Jeffrey, and maybe Papsy. I don't know. And then we kind of knew who like the best teams were too, like Casey, me. But okay, let's start with these rankings. Last place, 12th is Trump. I mean, the trade he did with Bowman was really bad. Jefferson, he traded Jefferson and Caleb Johnson for Brown and London. So if he had Brown and London instead, like that's just another really good player. He would have on his team. I mean, he has some studs, right? Josh Allen, he's the best player. Looks like Kamara and Henderson are going to be really good for PPR this year. Justin Jefferson's good, but picking him at pick 7 when there's so many other good receivers available, like Justin Jefferson went 7th, and then I picked Nico Collins with pick like 19 or like 22 or something like that. 20 pick 22. So 15 pick, there's not a 15 pick difference between them. So he like traded up to pick the best person out of like an equal tier. I really like Zay Flowers, but he's just not that good for fantasy. Hawkinson and Herbert are good too. So he has some like solid pieces, but then he has to start Wandale and Javonte Williams in the first week, which is absolutely brutal. Those are just not players that those are end of the bench players. Sampson, Johnson, and Judkins, we'll see which one of those guys like end up being good. I bet one of them will end up being like really fantasy relevant this year, but Trump, you should consider trading Judkins, Caleb Johnson, especially Josh Allen. I think that's the only way that Trump would be able to survive. Is if he trades Josh Allen, but he better do it soon because he's going to be 0-2 and 0-3 pretty fast, I think. So the week 3 Josh Allen trade is going to be like really important to see like who ends up getting him, which is why starting off is so important because you can make a trade for Josh Allen. Okay, next I'm going to go with Milk. And these power rankings, they're going to include just like predictions and history from last year. So I feel like last year it was just hard with Milk because he made all these crazy trades. So like his team is not terrible, but he's just unpredictable. So it would be like surprising for me to see him in the top 4 at the end. But his draft did start off really good. He is Jane Daniels, which he stole from Max. A Chain is good, but the calf injury is brutal. McConkey looks like Waddle is getting good buzz, and Calvin Ridley. Tyler Warren is was definitely one of my favorite tight ends, and then Jameson Williams could boom too, and Caleb Williams. So his starting lineup is pretty decent. Just the unpredictability that comes with Milk, plus ETN's RB2, but he does have Warren on the bench, so his team definitely has risen up a little bit. His bench is looking a little stronger now. But I'm just gonna have him 11th just because all the teams are even. I'm just gonna put Milk in there because he had the worst GM performance out of anyone last year. But I was pretty low in his team. Looking back now, I think this team could be pretty good. Maybe I'm underrating it a little bit. All right, 10th is gonna be Pred for life. It's gonna be Jay. He traded a lot to get Lamar Jackson, and was saying he learned stuff from last year, how he needs good QBs, but he gave up a lot to get Lamar Jackson from Grippy. And that was just the start of Grippy having a super stack team. So he does have Lamar Jackson. This team's another like studs and duds team. So Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs, and Brian Thomas is an amazing three people to have. Then Brees Hall and DK are decent. Then the rest of these guys are just very unpredictable. Debo, Cup. Debo could be decent. Cup is untrustworthy. Pitts is his tight end. Tua could get hurt. Then he's stuck with A-Rich on the bench. Chubb and Ford could be good the first couple of weeks, but won't be good after that. And then IU coming back from the torn ACL. It's just going to be too late for him. I don't think his team is as talented as the other teams. Plus, we know Jay. He'll be 1-3, and Milk will trade to Reed, and he'll start moping, um, and just like stop doing trades and trying, which is what happened last year. So that's why I have Jay in 10. But again, all these teams are pretty even. Okay, number 9, I have Reed. And looking at his team, it could be lower, honestly. And I hope, like Reed, if you're listening to this, I hope you record me saying this right now and put it in the chat. Like when you make the playoffs, which is that like your team is just cooked, bro. Like I don't think you're gonna make I don't think you stand a chance of making the playoffs. So I'm looking at the camera now. Reed Goldner will not make the playoffs in 2025 Super League. Okay, you can clip that. Put it on YouTube Shorts. Starts out with Hurts, and then he traded up for Burrow, and then he traded up for McCaffrey. End up trading Burrow away for Grippy, which I thought he lost that deal. And he's just relying, obviously Hurts is super solid, but he's relying on a lot of old players. McCaffrey, Henry, Tyreek Hill, and Mark Andrews. The odds of all those guys succeeding when they're old are just very low to me. Plus, he has to start Pittman and Shaheed and Geno Smith. There's more lineups where every player in their lineups are just like super solid and stacked. So starting all those guys is rough. And then his bench is really bad. Rattler, Justice Hill. Justice Hill is his RB3. So if McCaffrey ever gets hurt or is on bye, he has to start Justice Hill or pick up someone random. Amari Cooper's dead. Christian Kirk and Shakir are like wide receiver fives. And then Mixon on the bench, I don't think he's going to play a single game. I don't think Reed should have Mixon just because of his team. Yeah, so the only way I think is if McCaffrey stays healthy the whole season. That's the only way that Reed would win, um, or have a chance. And if Tyreek Hill goes off, it's just like if all these old guys can like be what they were like 2 years ago, then Reed will win the league. And he will get a couple donations from Milk in the season. Milk will make out with him a couple times, and he'll beef up his roster because he does some good trades. Okay, number 8, I have Luckbox Liam, and this was never a doubt here. I mean, I could go off about Liam. His trades are terrible. He's just doing the same exact thing as last year. And looking at his team, it looks good on paper, but when you think about it, it is just such like a Liam team, if that makes sense. Like look at it and tell me like if you had to guess like who drafted this roster before the draft, you'd be like Liam. Like all these players are name brand. There's no like cheeky sleepers in here except for Loveland. He's like, dude, like I have like Kyron Williams and James Cook and Marvin Harrison. Like my team's so stacked. But like I feel like he drafted Cook and Kyron at their peak. And they got so many touchdowns last year. And they're not really pass catchers. So it looks better on paper, but having 3 good running backs is good to try to trade with someone if the running back goes down. But I just think Liam, he holds his league, members hostage. He tries to destroy them when he's absolutely zero leverage, which is just like really frustrating trying to trade with this guy. So, and at some point he'll like if the Jets go like 2-1 to start the season, he's gonna trade like his entire team for Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson. So I don't think it's Liam's year again. But oh, we have to mention is he has Stafford and Rodgers on the bench, which is just like whatever. And then he's drafted Godwin, Allen, and Hollywood Brown. So that bench just isn't going to cut it. And he has Stafford, Williams, and Puka. So he has three Rams. It's just like relying way too much on Matthew Stafford. So like literally if Matthew Stafford like gets tackled week one, like there's a chance he doesn't even make it through week one. Liam just immediately goes down like number 11 because then the Rams just are way worse and he lost Stafford too. Okay. Number seven, I have the Reapers. Here's the Reapers team. And honestly, the Reapers does have a strong team on paper too. Dak Prescott and Nix are that's like one of the best QB duos we any of us have. Smith and Jigba and Higgins are good. Devontae Smith, but they're all like wide receiver twos in my opinion. Connor and Joku, Aaron Jones. So we have some old players too. You know, I feel like James Conner and Aaron Jones will be good to start the season, and Joku, and then two out of three of them could be like irrelevant by week nine, or in timeshares with Mason and Benson, they both get hurt, and then his bench is really bad. If he had an injury, he could sub in Booney. Then he has like Scatabo, Allen, Harris, some of these like lower tier dart throws. Plus, he can't be Reapers can't be any higher because you didn't make enough trades last year. And I tried to trade with you this offseason and you didn't show much interest in even talking to me about any trades. I don't hear you in trade talks a lot. So I think last year you sat on your hands until it's too late when everyone was telling you your team was bad for, quite a few weeks, even before the season. So I think you just have to be ready to pivot and be ready to take more risks this year, Reapers. You got to live up to your name, bro. The Reapers. Number six is me. And I was much higher on my team after the draft, but I'm getting pretty scared looking at my lineup, not gonna lie. It's definitely taken a hit. Um, Drake May and Kyler are pretty good. I don't have any concerns about them or Bucky Irving or Nico Collins. But everyone else on my team, like best, they just have a wide range of outcomes. Starting off with Hampton, I'm really glad he's on my team, but the first couple weeks he could be with Najee. We don't know how that's gonna shake up now. And Slater getting hurt, this is a risky pick. I kind of need him to pay off. Like he's projected 15. He could be dropping 5 points, 6 points, 4 points the first couple weeks. And Najee doesn't get hurt. So he could be splitting with Najee the whole season. But it is exciting to have him on my team. Obviously, the big news is Rashee Rice got suspended for the first 6 games. So I can't be higher than number six because I'm going to be at a huge disadvantage for the first 6 games. Um, but if I do, I have so much upside with that because if I sneak in the playoffs, I could be the 3 or 4 seed at the end. Then no one's gonna want to play me. Um, Devontae Adams has Stafford risk. Definitely reach on Laporta. Travis Hunter, that's a boomer bust player as well. Um, and Diggs, it's coming off the injury. So I have a lot of players in my team, that could be really good or could be really bad. So I feel like the middle is fair for me. Definitely won't get last with Rice in the bench. But I think I'm going to be somewhere between number four and number eight in the standings. So hopefully be number four. Oh, um, oh my. All right. Now with the next team, I have Lambos. Obviously, the interesting strategy of four receivers, which is insane. Like AJ Brown is wide receiver four. Like who's Trump's wide receiver four? Some of your guys' wide receivers four like are trash cans. So those guys obviously are four of the best, probably 10 receivers. So that's like a huge advantage for PPR. I mean, Lamb and London should be getting catches all day and Neighbors. So those three could be in the top five, and then AJ Brown could be in the top 10 for sure. So that's very exciting to have. But then On the flip side, Goff and Montgomery, and Harvey, Kraft and Penix, those aren't the best players for this league. I mean, the Lions, I don't think Goff and Montgomery will be as good as they were last year. Harvey could be good, but it could take him a while to get going. And then your tight end's just like, okay, compared to everyone else. With Penis and Golf too, that's one of the worst duos. And then the bench is just really bad again. B Rob died, so when you have a bye, you're gonna have to sub in Rashad White or someone random or injuries. It's just a lot of risk on four guys. If one of them gets hurt, it could be bad. Last year, Lamb didn't finish the season. Neighbors has injuries. AJ Brown has injuries. So, if a couple of these guys gets banged up, it's gonna be bad for Bowman, which I can't rank him above number five. But, obviously Lambeau, he's a good dealer as well. So, I feel like he's always going to be in the mix. He's not going to just give up and die um, and end the season. All right. Number four is Casey. Oh my gosh. What is going on here? Number four is Casey. His team is pretty good. And pretty balanced across the board. I just have some reservations about this guy's team. He's really relying on the Jets, which I'm like super low on. So like Fields being projected 18.87 this week against the Steelers is way too high, I think. Like I would be shocked if he got that projection. So you can see even Fields getting benched. You can see the Jets just being a disaster. Worthy and Kelsey are good to start the season, but then Rice is going to come back. Pearsall could be good to start the season, but then you're going to have Ayuk come back. Um, Gentry's a rookie. Saquon has the curse. So there's a couple concerns, but obviously the lineup is very solid, I would say. Starting lineup, but I think towards as the season goes on, this lineup isn't going to get better. It's going to get worse. Then the bench too. Josh Downs is good, but I don't believe in Krusky, Merritt, or Blue. He's going to have one of these rookies have to come off his bench and hit. So yeah, I think Casey's team's going to start out strong, but I think it's going to fizzle out and he'll just be a cock in the middle. All right, number three is Love. And the more I'm looking at this team, the more I'm liking it. You know, Jordan Love and Bryce is not the strongest duo, especially if you golf last year. It could be good if Bryce Young becomes good and the Packers throw more, but there's going to be some weeks where they don't play well. And then Joe Flacco's your third QB. Max's bench is good. He has Tracy, Eckler, Ramondre, Jennings is probably going to play. Darren Waller is just a waste on your roster. But I don't like Jonathan Taylor though. I think he got drafted so high when I had him last year, and he only went off versus shit teams at the end, and he doesn't catch passes. So I'm kind of out on Jonathan Taylor over people like Josh Jacobs or Bucky Irving or Chase Brown. I'm really high on Pacheco. He got drafted so high last year and then broke his leg. I feel like he'll be back to normal this year. Jason St. Brown and Terry is a strong receiver duo. Ingram is going to be good at PPR. Myers is a decent flex, but he has Jennings and Tracy. So I think Max's team is strong. Um, but it's his first year in the Super League. He's got to catch up. I don't know if he's gonna be ready to make megas, make a lot of trades, but I think his team has a good floor and bench, and if he makes a couple moves, his team could be really good. So yeah, I would say 3 to 11 could be anyone this season. Then I feel like there's two teams that stand above the rest. Number two being Luca, aka Sluka. Um, his starting lineup is very solid. Obviously, he kind of went with me with he's a no stud strategy and just the balance strategy. So no one's like really popping out, but I feel like Chase Brown has gotten, stock has risen. McMillan stock has risen. Pickens, even Egbuka, obviously that was a steal. A lot of reliance on the Bucks, but I feel like that's a great reliance to have. He's got really lucky with all these injuries. It's only going to be Egbuka and Evans at the beginning of the season. So Jake could start off really strong there. Kittle doesn't have Ayuk to start the season. McCaffrey and Pierce all could get hurt. His team is looking much stronger like after the draft as well. All these players have gotten a lot of hype. You know, obviously there's risk with Jake getting stir crazy and power hungry and panicking or falling in love with a random player like J.K. Dobbins and just trading so much for him. And you're like, what are you doing? So that's the only risk with Jake's team, but his bench is bad. Five receivers and four of them are rookies. He has no backup running back. So he's gonna, Luka's gonna make some trades this season, which is hilarious. So we'll see if that hurts him. Probably will. And then number one, I have Doofenshmirtz. And I think it's safe to say we're all rooting for Doof to win the league this year. I think he represents the Super League really well. I would be happy if Doof won for sure, if as long as he doesn't Doof my guys. But he did a great trade for Burrow, fixed his QB situation. Um, Walker and Hubbard are good running backs with Pollard on the bench, who's looking good without Spears. Charbonnet on the bench is strong too. He's Addison coming back. Um, he is the best two tight ends in tight end premium, which we all clown him for, but you don't want to face those two in these PPR leagues. The only concern is his receivers. I don't know how I feel about DJ Moore, Olave, or Golden. That's where he's going to be missing his points, but I feel like the foundation of his team is really solid, especially with his bench. But I think Grippy and Luca are close. I just gave it to Grippy because I think he'll be wanting to trade more, but they'll be smarter trades than the ones Luca made. But honestly, like looking through all the teams, it is pretty even. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. I think the playoffs, if I had to guess, they would be Grippy, Luca, me, and Lambo. That's my prediction for the four. Those are four of the faces of the league right there. So I'm just gonna pick us four to make the playoffs. Last place and getting kicked. Ooh, who's gonna get last? I'm just gonna pick Reed. Reed, you're getting last and getting kicked from the Super League, bro. Anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed my rambling analysis. I don't know how long that was, but hopefully this was some decent content to listen to before bed, and or tomorrow morning. And I'm really looking forward to Super League season two. May the best man win. And thank you.